So today's online class, I'll be going through tips for if you're competing for the first time. Or maybe you've competed once before. These are some helpful tips to guide you through the whole process of competing in a jiu-jitsu competition. So I'm going to split it up into two topics: what to do before the comp and what to do on the competition day. If you got any questions on Instagram, please ask. Go ahead. Alright, so first question that's always gets asked when you're about to compete is, when should I compete? I would recommend you asking your coach. They know best because they see you day in, day out on the mats. They know your progress, they know your skill level. So go ahead, ask your coach, and they should tell you if you should or shouldn't compete. I competed when I was a one-stripe white belt, so that's around 3 months of experience. I would say that's the minimum. I wouldn't recommend competing if you just started doing jiu-jitsu only for a couple weeks, because you don't know the basics just yet. I'd say 3 months and onwards is a good time to start competing because you have a good grasp of the foundations. So just go ahead, ask your coach, they know best. So if you are going to compete, next step is to commit early and sign up to the comp. Don't wait till last minute, commit early, that way you know you're going to compete, and then you have a time frame to prepare up until the comp. So don't leave it till the last week and train half-assed. Make sure you sign up early, that way you know you have a certain time frame to train hard, know what to work on, which leads on to my next point, is dieting. So if you sign up early and you know you're going to cut weight, or you need to cut weight, that way you have a long time frame to start dieting and cutting down to the weight division that you're going to go to. But if it's your first comp, I don't recommend you trying to cut much weight. Just try going the division that you normally are in, because I don't want you to be fully drained on your first comp, because in jiu-jitsu comps you weigh yourself and basically just compete straight away. So I don't want you to be fully drained before your first comp. So it's best, if you can, not to cut any weight and compete a few times, get used to your weight, and then get used to competition as well. When you're comfortable in that scenario, then you can start looking at cutting weight. So try not to cut weight, and if you are cutting, make sure you have a good diet on point and sign up early, that way you have a good time to shed the weight. Next thing is know the rules of the competition. So if it's IBJJF or points comp, you gotta learn how points are scored. That way you can kind of play the game. Once you understand how the points are scored, then you can start playing the game of jiu-jitsu. Some people don't like the game, which is basically you score and then just stall. But make sure you understand where the points are coming from. That way you can know if you're losing or if you're winning. Whereas if it's a sub only, you gotta learn what subs are allowed, what subs aren't allowed. Oh, that also applies for points comp. So make sure you know the rules, that way you can adjust your game plan to the rule set. So if it's a points comp, maybe in training you can start counting how many points you get during your wrestles or rolls during class, and that way you can be better prepared for the competition. Next thing is having a game plan, so knowing what to do. So I don't want you to rock up to a comp and, oh, what do? Am I going to pull guard? Am I going to take down? You should know what you're going to do. That's why you should sign up early and build a game plan. So if you're good at your guard, good at guard submissions, you know what to do. You're going to pull guard straight away and practice that in class. So you don't need to do anything fancy. Just get good at 1 or 2 moves And just keep practicing that, because that's all you need for the lower levels. You don't need to do basic, do fancy worm guard, stuff like that. Just get good at the basics and just hone on that. And then you can start branching out and build upon layers, and that's how you get better. And then get used to the time of your round. So that brings us back to the rules. So make sure you know how long your match is in the comp. That way you can cater for that in your training. So if you're a white belt, it's going to be 5-minute rounds, so get used to rolling 5 minutes. If you're a black belt, it's 10 minutes, so get used to rolling 10 minutes. So make sure it's specific to your comp. So that's pretty much it for before the comp. Now moving on to on the day, what you should do. Any questions yet on Instagram? We all good?
No questions yet.
Alright, so on the day of the comp, what you should do. So first thing is know your schedule, know what time you're on. And you should arrive at least an hour earlier to when your comp is on. Because sometimes comps can run fast, sometimes they run slow. So make sure you're early, because you can get disqualified for not showing up. So be there on time. Next one is make sure your weight is on point. So if you have a scale at home, weigh yourself. If you have if you go to the comp, that's why you should go to the comp early to also weigh yourself. Because if you are slightly over, then you have time to sweat it out or lose a bit of weight. So make sure you arrive early, weigh yourself, make sure your weight is on point, because you can also get disqualified for not being on weight. Okay, IBJF is especially strict. If you're overweight, they just DQ you straight away. Not allowed to compete. So make sure you're on weight. The comp day can be a long day. You can have several matches, and then if you're doing opens or no-gi, it can last the whole day. So make sure you have plenty of snacks and drinks. Keep hydrated, keep your energy levels up. Make sure you pack extra gi in case your gi is not competition legal, or in case maybe your gi rips or something like that. Make sure you have a spare gi so you can chuck it on if your first one fails you. So when you go to the comp and you get there, you register, you weigh yourself there. When you get into the holding area, or the bullpen it's called, they check all your gi. So make sure your gi is correct and legal. So make sure it's not too short. They got this special measurement thing where they measure your gi. So yeah, that's another part of competition. Make sure your uniform is correct. Same thing with rash guards. Especially beginners, if you're first comp, they don't know the rash guard rule, which is you got to wear like a 10%, I think, of your color on a rashi. A lot of people just bring a random rashi and they can't end up wearing it. So make sure you know the correct rashi you're going to wear. So if you're white belt, make sure it's got white on it. Next thing, make sure you have someone in your corner if you can. It'll give you that extra support and encouragement, and also they can tell you the time and how many points you're down or up. That's very important, because sometimes maybe you're fighting so hard you forget to check the time, you forget to look at the score. So it's best to have someone there in your corner telling you that and giving you some tips throughout to help you get the win. Also, next step is make sure you're warmed up. This is a very big thing that not many people do, and especially in their first comp, is not warm up. Like, there's such a big difference if you actually warm and a bit sweaty compared to just going on straight away cold. You feel way much better, you have way more energy, and you don't gas out as much because of the adrenaline dump. You 100% get an adrenaline dump, especially in your first comp. So make sure you're warmed up. You'll perform a lot better when you're warm. So I recommend getting a light sweat up, And try to keep warm in between matches too. Don't just cool down. Make sure you're warm throughout the whole time. And make sure when you are competing, you're breathing. That'll help you not gas out straight away, because there is that adrenaline dump. Make sure you have good breaths through the nose. Get that oxygen in so you don't gas out ASAP. So breathe, take your time. Don't spaz. Like, especially this is more towards white belts. They rush things, and because of the adrenaline dump combined with that, you gas out so fast. So if you've planned well, you signed up early, you've honed your game plan a couple months out, just focus on your game plan, relax, do your thing, don't gas out, and you'll get the win. If you can, try watch your opponents or anyone in your division's previous matches whilst you're waiting, so you can get a good idea, if you do verse them, what they're going to do, because usually that's going to be their game plan. If they pulled guard through all their matches before they verse you, then it's pretty, then you have a pretty good idea they're going to pull guard on you. So you got to be ready. So it's best, if you can, to watch your opponent's matches. Try your hardest to win. It's not the end of the world if you don't win. Competition, win or lose, it's a great experience. And the main thing is to keep your head up if you do lose, and just learn something out of it. Because then you come back to training, do what you did incorrectly, work on that, and next comp, hopefully that doesn't occur and you can win. That's how you get better. So competition, if you do it, that's how you increase faster than people who don't. So I would recommend everyone at least try compete once in your jiu-jitsu career. It's a great experience and it will help you improve faster. And lastly, just remember, is jiu-jitsu, we do it for fun. Don't be too stressed out on the comp. At the end of the day, everyone's just getting together on the weekend to do what they love. So enjoy yourself out there. Train hard, try to win, but it's not the end of the world. Just have some fun. Alright, so those are my tips if you're trying to compete for the first time. That's it.